This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, your home for entrepreneurial information and inspiration. I'm Scott Sander. Today, as every week, you'll meet 7 storytellers. Their stories range from how they got started in business, how they gained access to capital, how they run their business day to day. You'll hear from our regular contributors who cover the week in business, and experts at managing money who talk about accounting and bookkeeping and how it'll fit into your plan. You'll hear about a different industry today, as with every week, and we'll always wrap things up with an inspirational success story. We're here with a new show every Sunday on Wish TV. You can also live stream us as it happens on wishtv.com. Then we post all of the 7 weekly segments from shows on our website, beoshow.com. Watch them, share them, scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. That'll take you right there. While you're there, do listen to our Business, Equity, and Opportunities podcast, part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Subscribe to the weekly newsletter that we put together. Our team updates it every Tuesday. Now, though, let's get to the business of business. Here's what's on today's Business, Equity, and Opportunities. What does a bank consider capital, and what do you need to know to get it? Defining intangible assets. Our CFO, Ty Shea, wants to make sure you know what they are. We have reports from the Rally Innovation Conference and how adding Spanish can be an important part of your business plan. We meet a family that races together, and our success story this week is truly for the birds. First up, getting started. Indianapolis just hosted the Rally Innovation Conference with the goal of bringing people from different areas and industries together for what the conference memorably calls creative collisions. Rally's the brainchild of 2 of our contributors. Last week, we previewed the event with Christopher Day, boss of Elevate Ventures. This week, we catch up with the other co-founder, David Watkins of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
So we're at the first annual Rally Innovation Convention and Conference here in Indianapolis. And we're talking to innovators and entrepreneurs and shining a bright spotlight on Indiana's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Indiana's entrepreneurial ecosystem is on a massive upswing, and being able to bring in investors and companies and startups and entrepreneurs from around the globe, but also from right here in Indiana, and get people to meet with them, to know them, to innovate with them, to collaborate with them, and align all of these different industry initiatives and innovative subsectors of Indiana's economy. It's really important for us at the IEDC as we focus on entrepreneur-led economic development and helping those entrepreneurs grow and start their businesses right here in Indiana. One of the most exciting parts about Rally this year is that we have companies from Argentina to Estonia, Singapore to San Francisco who are going to be pitching here in Indianapolis to access up to $1 million prize investment should they choose to locate here in Indiana. So we're actively trying to get these companies and investors to A, consider putting their money to work here in Indiana, but B, understanding that this is a great community, it's a great place to collaborate, it's a great place to start your business and to grow your business, and that those resources exist right here in Indiana. So it's really about telling our story, and this is something that we do every day at the IEDC, but sometimes it takes a big jolt like Rally to shine that spotlight in a very intentional way on the stories of entrepreneurship in Indiana, and hope that that becomes a recurring theme as we go throughout our daily lives and throughout the normal year, being able to talk about entrepreneurship and innovation in a very intentional way. Well, they should definitely be marking their schedule for next year and plan to attend. But they should really, not only that, but be interested in engaging with the ecosystem that we've built, the ecosystem of investors and innovators and startups. Like, this is a year-round commitment for us. This isn't a one time of the year. We're working on these types of opportunities with our entrepreneurial ecosystem in Indiana throughout the entire year. The IEDC, we spend all day, every day throughout the year focused on helping entrepreneurs succeed in Indiana. One of the best ways to plug into that ecosystem is through our newly launched portal, Connect IND, that just launched earlier this summer. That's a great entry point for startups both here in Indiana and throughout the nation that are interested in understanding what Indiana has to offer.
Getting started. Made possible by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
We will have more from the Rally Conference later this hour. To hear more insight from contributors to help you get started, use the links on our website, beoshow.com. Follow the QR code on your screen. If you have information that has helped you launch or run a small business, tell us how you're doing. We'd love to share your story. Send us an email at beo@wishtv.com. Coming up, what does a bank consider capital? The answers on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. We talk about gaining access to capital every week on our show. But what does your bank define as capital? Parminder Kaur, Fifth Third Bank, has answers.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. Access to capital.
Capital is anything that brings value to the business. It could be cash, it could be inventory, it could be their building that's free and clear. Anything a business has an asset is considered as a capital. Obtaining access to cash is the biggest need of any small business owner. The very first thing I would highly suggest them to come contact their bank. Fifth Third has tons of different options available depending on their needs. In order to have any kind of lending with business lending, we usually ask for 2 years of tax returns, their revenue, because some of the loans or lines of credit depends on their revenue as well, and 2 years of personal tax returns as well. So your personal credit needs to be minimum at 680 if you are a grantor on that loan, and also you would need to have a good credit history with your bank as well. So it's called something internal scores as well. So those would be, it could be cash, your CD, savings, any kind of equipment that you have free and clear, you have the title, and we do consider some of the commercial property, but as long as it's owner occupied. Equity financing means like a bank would be using the collateral. So collateral is anything that, as I said, what we just said. It could be your CD, it could be your cash, it could be your anything that you have equipment-wise. So once you actually, there are terms and conditions like, hey, we have this loan for 2 years or 5 years, whatever the terms are, bank will hold the collateral until it gets clear. So if you do default on the loan or the lending part, then bank has the full right of take the possession of that collateral. If your business is actually thinking that they may not be able to make the payments or anything like that, talk to your banker, talk to your business banker ASAP to see what other options are available to help you. Set up a business review once or twice a year. I personally am a financial center manager and a business banker, so I actually call my clients quarterly just to see, because one thing is working for you in banking industry may not work for you next 6 months. So just to make sure that you are taking the full advantage of what bank has to offer, it's really important to visit your banker or talk to them over the phone at least once a quarter. So banker will know what exactly your needs are by asking the right questions to see where you are. Like if you have just starting the business, what kind of capital you would need at that point. If you're expanding, what type of sources are you looking for since you're expanding the business, how are you expanding your cash flow? So cash flow, needs to go along with your business. So you need to make sure that you have a fully understanding of how you can actually manage both at the same time. And going to your banker would be the best way to do it. Especially for established business, I highly 100% recommend to have a line of credit, especially when so you don't have to dip into your CDs, your saving accounts. You do have that backup plan in case your cash flow comes up short due to emergency. It could be that your equipment broke. You need to buy a new equipment because you got a biggest project of the year. So those kind of stuff you need to be always prepared for. So you want to keep it as your backup pocket. So if something comes up, yes, go ahead and use that, but make sure that you are actually paying as much as you can, so you don't have, you're not looking for a balloon payment and then getting yourself in trouble for that. So I don't want you to use that for something personal comes up and then use the business line of credit for that. Business needs to be strictly for business purposes only. The 5-year, I would consider that if you have a term loan. And then term loan, the beauty of the term loan is just like it has the fixed rate, fixed payment, so you know that within those time of period, you would actually take care of that. And it'll be actually the loan will be eliminated. On the other side, if you were talking about line of credit is good for the customer who would actually who need to use this cash flow for multiple occasions, not just one time. So it is very important to ask the right question to uncover the need of the customer and see which one is actually good for them. It's going to be a term loan is going to be the best option, or the line of credit would be the best option for them. And the future looks bright for the small businesses as long as we have the right plan for today and tomorrow.
You can find links to all of our Access to Capital segments on our website, beoshow.com. Don't type it in right now, just use your phone, scan the QR code, it'll get you right there. Later, Tai Shea on intangible assets. First, though, another look at the Rally Innovation Conference and more of the week in business.
Grow your business with Wish TV's featured business directory. For less than $200 a month, be one of the limited businesses in 30 different categories, benefiting from one of the top visited websites in Indiana and Indiana's only statewide news station. Space is limited. Contact us today.
It is time on Business Equity and Opportunities when we talk about the week in business. Organizers describe Rally as the largest global cross-sector innovation conference. We talked to some of the attendees to find out what they got out of the Rally experience.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
My name is Jake Butler. I'm the Director of Entrepreneur Experience for Endeavor. So we work with founders all over the world. We work with high growth entrepreneurs in 42 countries and 8 US markets, all in developing and emerging economies, working to help entrepreneurs to scale, exit, and then reinvest in their ecosystems here in Indianapolis, in Louisville, in Puerto Rico, in South Africa, Thailand, and beyond. I am super excited about Rally being here. Beyond that, I'm actually excited about the potential of Rally. I think that the upside for this conference in Indianapolis is massive. We're already bringing people from all over the world. We're highlighting the technology and the entrepreneurs we have here, but we're displaying that at a global level. And I think that the conference itself this week is phenomenal, but the impact that it can have on a long-term basis for Indianapolis, for Indiana, for the Midwest is just phenomenal. I think the first takeaway is the energy, right? Like the first takeaway is excitement, is energy, is realizing, rediscovering why you're an entrepreneur, why you like innovation, why you enjoy doing it. It's getting people together who think the same. So the first takeaway is just getting re-excited about what you're doing and what you're building. And then getting folks together to collaborate, new ideas, listening to Guy Raz this morning, right? I mean, there's just all kinds of potential for learning and seeing and experiencing entrepreneurship, both in Indianapolis and globally, right? It is completely the energy of what people are doing and bringing to the table in their own businesses, for other startups. I just think it's phenomenal.
So I'm CEO of ZeroCarb LYFE. We are very intent on bringing to the world foods that taste as good as or better than their unhealthy alternatives, but that are healthy, clean ingredients, and that actually improve your health versus make it harder for you to be healthy. Rally has been incredible. I mean, I think that we didn't expect that we could actually get this kind of attention in the state of Indiana. For us, it's incredible. We knew that we have this in the state. Talent, founders, leaders, startup talent, that's really something to behold. And I think this opportunity has brought a lot of people to realize that. And I think this first year to have this kind of, first of all, this kind of attendance and this kind of showing, and to have this ability to collaborate with so many people that have great ideas. We've already met 2 companies that we know can be great for us to help grow things. I talked to 2 investors yesterday, just the first 2 that I talked to, both were amazing conversations. So it's just an incredible experience. And then, of course, to meet Guy Raz and hear how he built things, when he's always talking to other people about how they built. I mean, it's just all great. It benefits us in an incredible way. I mean, first of all, as a food tech company in Indiana, we know that the Midwest is the hub of food and agriculture, but I think the world doesn't necessarily know that. This allows us the opportunity to show why it's great for us to have headquartered our company here and to be able to draw talent to here. We brought talent from other states to here for our company, and now people understand why because of Rally. It also allows us to showcase the products that we have. I mean, we've had a great, run with our company to be able to get products all over the country. But this is another opportunity for people that are coming here to see firsthand, see all the talent that doesn't always travel everywhere for retail, to see how we are building this company from the ground up in Indiana. The success out of this is that we have a big exit 2 years sooner than we anticipated, just because there's so much attention here. But in reality, what we know can be success out of this is the investors that we've made the connection with. They'll help lead this next round of funding that we have next year. We know that the companies that we're looking at, we're going to do some strategic partnerships that will help grow their brand and grow ours. Those 2 things by themselves to me is a great opportunity. And then, of course, the network of great people that we can help and people that can help us. Just to have that additional network of people helping people, to me, grows our ecosystem so much more than just finding investors and finding companies to partner with.
So I started Revival Food Company about 8 years ago, and it started as a passion project. I was just making it here in Indianapolis at farmers markets and selling regionally, and it was this really slow startup I did while being a stay-at-home mom too. But over the years, it started to grow traction. People wanted it and they wanted more of it. So I tried my hand at growing nationally and ended up launching it at Walmart about 3 years ago, and most recently Sprouts and Fresh Time. I got connected to the idea of doing this pitch because I was ready to raise money. So that's where I'm at right now. We're ready to grow as a company and move beyond almond butters and into more alternative nut and seed butters. So I've been looking to find ways of how I'm going to raise money. And when I heard about Rally through the IEDC, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. This is my people, this is my industry. And being able to put myself out there on a main stage was definitely, this is one of the parts of the job. It was definitely an experience to go up there on a massive main stage in front of, I think, a couple thousand people here, and just pour my heart out in some ways of the business that I've worked so hard to build. My idea of success from this is the connections that I'm making. I hope to make some strong relationships with potential investors and really to get on track to raise the money that we need to scale. I would say if you're considering coming to Rally, you're a person who loves innovation, creativity, you're an investor or you're a founder, or you just love being around that energy. And so Rally has been all of that. You're just getting to hear all of these different pitches and panels on great ideas that are happening in the world that inspire you to want to create something awesome. And it's global. It's not just Indianapolis, which I think is pretty amazing. I guess I was surprised that I have hardly sat down the whole time I've been here. All I have done is connect. People want to talk. They're here to connect. And a lot of times at conferences, you end up just sitting in panels and sitting and watching and sitting and talking. But here, the energy is great. Everyone's excited to do business together and to learn from each other. So I've been surprised that literally all day yesterday, I'm pretty sure I sat down once. And that's a good thing. I didn't stop talking and connecting with great people in the industry. Even in the demo arena here, it's set up to just stay open, conversational, it's not closed off. And that's true for everywhere. It's come as you want into any of the discussions or panels. There's spaces to gather outside. And the conversations, even the after events have been that too, where they're really cultivating conversations. And I think that's a really special part of this event. The future of Revival is looking super bright. Especially once I get this money, is just what I hope happens. But regardless, the vision for Revival has expanded so far past nut butters, which is where we're at. We make almond butters, we're going to do nut and seed butters, more of that. But the true vision of Revival is to transform and create a revival in the food industry because it needs it. A majority of the foods on the shelf are full of additives and sugars and preservatives and things that if we knew, we would not want to consume or feed our kids. And so really the greater vision of Revival is to create a revival in our grocery stores. And that's what the goal is.
This Week in Business is made possible by InnoPower.
Also this week in business, big honor for the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, which earned its first ever State Chamber of the Year award from the National Association of State Chambers. Annual conference was in Anchorage, Alaska. Organizers say this is the first time the vote was unanimous. The presenters referred to Indiana as the gold standard for state chambers across the country. The Indy Pride Career Fair is coming up the afternoon and evening of October 4th. It is from 4 to 8 at Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. If your company would like to get involved or become a sponsor, we have links available through our website, beoshow.com. If your business has an event you'd like us to mention on our show, send us an email 3 weeks out to beo@wishtv.com. Coming up, one way for businesses to remove some social barriers. Before that, Ty Shea gives a tangible explanation about intangible assets.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
Accounting and bookkeeping is always top of mind in business, equity, and opportunities. Ty Shea is one of the folks who's guided us through the beginning of this show. Ty joins us again, CFO of Circle City Broadcasting. Thanks for being with us. We're going to continue our sort of like foundational elements and maybe phrases that we're not familiar with as we jump into business for ourselves for the first time. The word intangible, we often hear it specific to sports, things like, oh, he has the intangibles, she has an intangible quality. There's an accounting and bookkeeping use for it as well. Intangible assets, what are those?
Yeah, so often they are assets that are ascribed a value on your balance sheet, but by the very name of it are untouchable. They are not a tangible, touchable fixture that you can go and find in your business. Examples, for instance, let's say you buy a company and you buy them for $100,000. But when you add up the value of, say, all the equipment that you're purchasing, the present value of all the equipment you're purchasing, and any desks and furniture and vehicles or whatever, and that comes up to, say, $80,000, right? When you add up all the assets that you can go out there and touch and put a name to, and there's still a $20,000 gap. Well, why is that? Well, it basically can essentially be a premium that it can be ascribed to what's called goodwill. And that is, sometimes you're paying for more than just the asset. Sometimes you're paying for the name recognition. Sometimes you're paying for the account list, right? And so when you pay a premium above and beyond the mere assets that you're purchasing, you would put on your balance sheet what's called goodwill, and that implies that the value of the business I'm buying is greater than the sum of the individual assets. And so that is one of those. Other ones are, say, like patents. If you have a patent that provides and really corners out the market for you and allows you to, capitalize on what you sell and keeps your competition at arm's length and away, well, there's a value to that. And so no, you can't go out and touch a patent, but there's certainly a value there. There's something that you'd want to recognize on your balance sheet. And
Would something like proprietary software fit under that as well?
Yeah. And so, you would have, software that you've developed would be on your fixed asset list. But anything like, say, a patent or a trademark or something like that certainly provides value, whether it be from, a brand recognition or just, it allows you to, like I said, an advantage in the market. You can put a value to that. And there's definitely an annual, at least, evaluation process of whether it makes sense to maintain that asset on there. It doesn't stay on there perpetually.
The idea of tangible assets, makes total sense to us. If we can store it in a warehouse, we know how much we think it's worth to us or how much we spent on it. The idea, though, that we have to sort of come up with this value for a nebulous idea can be pretty intimidating. Will we owe an explanation, say, to our investors, to the bankers that we work with, or is there a comfort with that with them?
A lot of times, especially like with goodwill, you go through a valuation process when you purchase a company, and so you value all of the assets that you can account for that you are purchasing, and so and there are businesses who will do business valuations for you, and so you can readily calculate that residual to which you would attribute goodwill. And yes, and as long as and you work in conjunction with your accountant and your tax providers to validate that number at the outset, and then on an annual basis, verify that it still makes sense to be on there, you can very easily justify it.
All right, well, it's the first time in a while we've talked about something you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel, but clearly has a tremendous amount of value and does belong on your bottom line as you figure things out. Taishe, as always, thanks for the wisdom.
Thank you, Scott.
You can see all of Ty's accounting and bookkeeping segments right now through beoshow.com. Scan the QR code, it'll get you there. While you're there, sign up for the newsletter that we update every Tuesday and subscribe to our podcast. It's Business Equity and Opportunities through the All Indiana Podcast Network. Later, a family truly on a fast track. First, though, why your business plan may benefit from including Spanish. Regresamos con más en unos minutos. Back in a minute. Back in 2007, Nicole Carey started a career in the field of dentistry. She quickly realized the challenges many English-speaking providers face in delivering care to Spanish-speaking patients. Since then, she's made it her mission to advocate for patient education to all who have the resources to give it.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
So I was born and raised in Indianapolis, went to high school at Ben Davis. I had a really amazing Spanish teacher that saw something special in me and allowed me to really dive into language. I was a complete language nerd, so loved grammar, loved linguistics, and I had the opportunity to teach Spanish in high school. She developed a program for me that didn't exist. And so because of that, I found a love of teaching and a love of language. I took my Spanish speaking skills to the field of dental hygiene. And when I graduated college, I immediately worked in clinics that served mostly Black and brown populations. And so I used the ability to connect and to speak to people about their health. That was something I really loved doing. What I realized though is a lot of times insurance dictates treatment. So in school we learned best practices and the best care possible, but not everyone has access to that care. And so this was back in 2007 when I really realized that although I loved connecting with people through healthcare, I felt more of a calling to address more of the systemic issues that prevented folks from having access. So since 2007, I've been offering consulting services around best practices for connecting with communities that might be different from your own. Back in those days, it was called cultural competency training. It's changed names throughout the time, so multiculturalism, DEI. But really what I view it as is a way to connect with people when there are barriers for connection, and how can we change the system in ways that provides more access and opportunity for all folks. And that's a really complex question. So what I realized from the beginning is when you're talking to folks who have been in business for a long time and have done things a certain way, there's not necessarily a receptivity to learning new things, especially if that doesn't immediately translate to helping their bottom line. And I know that that's a reality that a lot of businesses face. So my second approach was to enter into education of younger folks. When you're working with younger people, some of the notions of our socialization have not been embedded yet. And so was more eager to speak to young folks about how to build connections with different communities. And a beautiful way to do that is through language. And I started that journey really wanting to teach my own kids Spanish. I'm a Black woman that speaks Spanish, and because I had a great teacher, I had access to language. But that's not everyone's experience. Sometimes people don't even understand the value of knowing a different language because it's not presented to them in that way. So I wanted to develop a program that allowed young kids to learn languages, but not just numbers and colors, but to appreciate culture, to be exposed to different ways of being, to kind of build empathy and compassion as a foundational skill. And I'm speaking about young kiddos, so 3 to 5. And when I looked for teaching materials, I only found curricula that had European faces. I didn't find faces that looked like me or my kids. And so I dove into a different avenue of learning and learned curriculum development and what are the foundations for early learning that are important. And I wrote my own curriculum, and that's really how I started in education and how Onda Spanish really started. So we develop curriculum and then we offer Spanish classes for small children up to adults, and we still do that to this day, but our focus mostly is on presenting curricular materials that reflect the children that are learning and provide access to students of all economic means in all walks of life. There's this concept or this understanding that we can be idealistic and we can have vision for the future, or you can be strategic and you can think about the bottom line, and that those two things are separate. I don't see it as that. I see that being idealistic is that way because it's so far from our lived reality. But those big dreams, that's what I like to think about every day, those faraway notions and the complex issues of society. How can we break those things down one piece at a time? So that to say, strategy built around inclusivity, strategy built around belonging, around diversity, will improve the bottom line. I think what some organizations, especially after the murder of George Floyd, where there's been an influx in money into programs that think about inclusivity and belonging, and if it's 3 years later, if you haven't seen the ROI, right, some of those programs are being cut. And it needs to be thought about just like any other strategy in business. So how are we measuring success? A lot of times, if you just jump in and you say, I'm going to do this initiative, we're going to try to increase our supplier diversity, but it's not connected to measures of success. then it's not going to be able to be seen, and then it will be disconnected. However, diversity, inclusion, belonging, all of those things are critical for an organization's success. Our Hispanic population in the city is growing so fast, and the power of their dollar is so strong. We have to take that into consideration, and it's beyond language. So language is a key factor in reaching other communities, but it's not the only one. It's language, and it's also connected to culture and values, and how we conduct business to accommodate everyone says a lot about who our ethos as organizations.
For more information about ONDA and how you can introduce Spanish language into your business to run it day to day, head to BEOshow.com. QR code will take you right there. Coming up later, the start of a wild business. After the break, though, our industry focus takes us to the track. This is Business Equity and Opportunity.
Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results.
It is time for our Business Equity and Opportunity weekly focus on a certain industry. In this case, drag racing, the sport's premier event. The National Hot Rod Association's U.S. Nationals returned to Indianapolis, bringing lots of speed, lots of noise, lots of racers named Salinas. Yes, the latest proof that racing runs in families.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities Industry Focus.
Mike Salinas runs Scrappers Racing out of Brownsburg, Indiana.
We were the kids back in the 60s picking up scrap metal and driving around in those little pickup trucks, picking up scrap metal and doing that type of work. But I just had a bigger vision of you start there, but doesn't mean you have to stay there. And we have this thing that in our family that we're on the move. So we've been moving ever since, and we still can't stop today, to be honest with you. We're always looking to expand, grow, different areas, different industries too, so just keep on moving. In the 60s, my parents used to let my uncle babysit me, and then he took me over to Fremont Drag Strip because he was a surfing and drag racing. So his 58 Ford with all of his friends and myself, they gave him $4 to babysit me for gas. So he had enough gas to go to Santa Cruz, which is not too far from the track, probably 25 miles. And so he would hang out with the surfers there and the drag racers, and I wandered off, and Don Perdome, I was looking at his little snakes that he had. So he used to put little cobras and snakes in front of his pit. And so he, as a little kid, he picked me up and sat me in his car, and that's kind of ruined me for everything. Yeah, so basically what we equated to, my father taught us always basically everything is money. So if you figure out how to look at everything as a business, and we were little kids, we were working at 8, 9 years old, and so we would see all the stuff that people were throwing away, and we said, you know what, we could take that, turn it into scrap and make some money out of it and help feed the family, and that's basically where it all started. And to be honest with you, it basically never ended the way we did this. We just kept on moving and growing, and we would never forget where you came from, but you never look back. You look forward. God put eyes in front of your head so you can see where you're going, not where you came from. As we get older, we learn a lot about what's important, and the girls are helping run the businesses now. So we've done this all together. When people walk up to me and say, well, you built something great, they never take into consideration that my daughters were in playpens, and then they were working the window, and then my wife was there. So it wasn't only me, it was all of us as a group, a collaborative group. And as long as you think like that and still stay like that, it'll be good. In one form or fashion, they're all running part of the businesses. And it's a nice thing to watch them grow and watch them, buy homes and be successful and be great, productive citizens. You have to know your audience, and that's your children. You have to know that you can work with them. And I'm probably not the easiest person to work with. I'm very demanding, and I expect the bar is set pretty high. And when they're set out in the real world, the bar is going to be even higher, because I love them and I try to take care of them and show them the right way, what's coming their way. But the other side of it is, as they're working in all these businesses, they've watched families that work for us for several years. We've helped put their kids through college. We've helped them do all kinds of different great things, so we can continue to grow and grow and grow. You're only as strong as the people that work with you, and they don't work for us, they work with us, so and you make them feel a part of the company, and we all do well together. We grow, they grow, and that's how our model. It's actually crazy. I never did team sports, but there's a lot of good people out at the races, and you've learned, you meet some really great people. And it's a great place. It's just like you go to a volleyball tournament, or you want to do one of these things, or baseball. But we travel around the country. The difference is, and the funny part is, these guys that work all together, they really help each other behind the scenes where the general public can't see. We get help from, Robert Hite, John Forrest, they helped me when we were first starting. We had some really good things. They didn't know me, and we're still working together. Everybody here, they're not individual teams. Out at the track now, when I got to race Brittany or Austin or any of these people at that line, we're not friends anymore. You take care of the community. Everywhere you go, we've met great people all around the country, and you give back, because if you don't give back, it's no use of doing it, to be honest with you.
Industry Focus is made possible by Circulus Digital Media.
If you'd like to learn more about Scrappers Racing, the link is at beoshow.com. Scan the QR code that's on your screen. Feel free to share any segment that you see on our show with friends or business partners through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email. We make it simple with the buttons that are below on our website. When we return, our success story takes flight. Stay with us.
Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results.
It is time to wrap things up with our weekly success story. Jim and Nancy Carpenter own Wild Birds Unlimited. They started it back in 1981 with help from the Small Business Administration, the SBA. As the SBA celebrates 70 years of helping small businesses find success, the Carpenters share with us how they found theirs.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities Success Story.
We are here today in the very beautiful Wild Birds Unlimited Native Pollinator Meadow at Newfields. We are here today with Jim and Nancy Carpenter, founders of Wild Birds Unlimited, to honor them as SBA's 70th anniversary legacy business. Congratulations, Jim and Nancy, on behalf of the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stacy.
Every year since 1953, the SBA has celebrated small businesses, but we want to do something more special this year with the 70th anniversary. The anniversary of President Eisenhower signing the Small Business Act, which has benefited thousands of businesses over the years, of course, in Indiana. So we honored Wild Birds Unlimited as our 70th anniversary legacy business here in Indiana. What an amazing story from Jim and Nancy Carpenter. They started here in Indiana. They still own a couple of the franchises here in Indiana, but they went nationwide, and even into Canada, over 350 franchise locations. What a great American success story. Taking a passion, kind of building bird cages and tinkering with that, their love of birds, and turning that into a business an international business that's thriving.
There's titmice. Wow, they're really coming in now. Yeah, there's like 4 nuthatches. So in 1981, I opened a little store in the Broad Ripple area of Indianapolis on East 62nd Street. And I called it Wild Birds Unlimited. And by golly, people started coming in to buy their bird feeding products. And I think what was neat is that throughout time, bird feeding had been treated as a secondary business at any retailer that sold it. So at a garden center, it'd be in the winter when they're not selling fertilizers and things like that, so they'd sell bird food. But it's never treated as a serious hobby. And so when I opened up and I treated it as a serious hobby and I taught people how to attract the birds, how to learn about the birds, enjoy the birds, that's what really, I think, helped turn into a hobby. And there were some seminars I went to, and then I did actually work with an SBA SCORE mentor for a little while, and that was very helpful, and that was probably the mid-'80s. And so, yeah, then I progressively learned the value of mentors, and that is really important for any business. One thing I learned is just because you own the business doesn't mean you know how to grow the business. Everybody has to learn how to grow their business, and the more help they get from sources such as the SBA or other sources, the better and quicker they're going to learn those skills. And it's very important for Nancy and I and our company and our staff and our franchisees and our customers and the birds to all be recognized as a legacy business. It's a great honor.
That is today's Business Equity and Opportunities. Thanks to the storytellers who joined us today. If you'd like more information about the topics they've shared, find the links on our website, beoshow.com. Scan the QR code that's on your screen. It'll get you there. As you're there, look for the past segments of the show from each of our 7 weekly topics. As you watch them, download them. Use the buttons underneath the video to share the video on social media. Listen to and subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast through the All Indiana Podcast Network. Sign up for the newsletter that we update every week. And if you have questions or a success story you think we need to hear, send us an email, beo@wishtv.com. We will see you next week for more Business Equity and Opportunities. Until then, I'm Scott Sander. Have a great day.
Business, Equity, and Opportunities is made possible by Indiana Economic Development Corporation, InnoPower, Bose McKinney & Evans, Gemco, Fifth Third Bank, and IU Indianapolis.